What's that sound? It's For Amusement Only, the EM and Bingo Pinball Podcast. Welcome back to For Amusement Only. This is Nick Baldridge. I thought it was high time that I talked about Bally's first bingo, Bright Lights. Bright Lights was made in 1951, and it was a 6-card bingo. You've heard me talk about 6 cards for some time. I've talked with Vic Camp about it. We did a whole episode called Strictly 6 Cards, which goes over all of Bally's production run of 6-card bingos. Feel free to refer back to that show, as a lot of this information will have been covered there as well. But there is some new info here on Bright Lights, and it's kind of a fascinating game since it was the first one made after the one-ball horse race games started to be made illegal. The legislation was pending, and Bally kind of saw the writing on the wall, so they started production of this new type of game called a bingo. Now, Bright Lights had a 6-card layout, and if you'll recall, what that means is that you deposit 1 coin to light 1 card, and there's no mystery intervals or anything like that, so 6 coins in equals all 6 cards lit. Now, one kind of oddity about Bright Lights is that even though it has all 6 cards with the same numbers, the order of the cards is different than on most of the 6-card bingos. The first and second cards, numbers and orientations are correct for the rest of the 6-card series, but the third and fourth cards are swapped, and the fifth and sixth cards are swapped. So if you step up to any other machine, say like my 1972 ticker tape, and you looked at the back glass compared to Bright Lights, you would say, that's kind of funny. In the end, it doesn't really matter. You know, most of the time when I play 6-card, I'm going to dump in 6 coins to try to get the best return on my bet. Now, Bright Lights had no additional features. There were no spotted numbers. There was no super line. There was no corner scoring. It was just pure bingo. You try to get 3, 4, or 5 in a row on any one of the 6 cards, and you're good to go. So, say you make the number 6 on the bingo playfield, it's going to light the number 6 on each of the cards, which of course is in a different position on each card. So just like playing regular bingo, the more cards you purchase, the more chances you have to win. As this was the first bingo, Bally was still kind of getting their feet under them as far as how the math really needed to work to entice players to come back. So if you look at Bright Lights and read the score and instruction cards, you'll see that actually it didn't matter which card that you won on, the odds were always the same. So if you got a 5-in-line win on card number 6 or a 5-in-line win on card number 1, you still earn the same number of replays. This is quite different from any other 6-card that Bally produced. So let's talk about what you'd win. 3 in a line on any card, again, would score 4 replays. Now, 4 replays isn't enough to even start a whole new game, so obviously you want to go for 4 in a line. Well, 4 in a line was adjustable. You could adjust it to 20 replays, 24 replays, 28 replays, or 32 replays. 32 is pretty generous. Any 5 in a line scores 100 replays. So you may be asking yourself, okay, I've got cards 1 through 6 lit, and somehow I've got a T-style win where I have 3 in a row vertically and 3 in a row horizontally. Does that mean that I get 8 replays on that card? The answer is no. The game will only search out the largest win on any given card. So if you have a 3 in line one way and a 4 in line another way on the same card, then it would only take the 4 in line win. So how could that happen? It's a 6 card, you may be asking yourself. And I thought 6 cards only came with 5 balls. There was no extra ball feature. Well, you're correct. And if you've been listening for a while, you've heard me talk about Coney Island, which was the second bingo. And Coney Island was the first game with extra balls. And you'll note that Coney Island was not a 6-card bingo. In fact, none of the 6-card bingos that Bally produced had the extra ball feature. Now, the 6-card bingos that are being produced today in Belgium do have an extra ball feature. Bright Lights had a manual ball lift. It's one of the only bingos Bally produced that had a manual ball lift. In fact, I think it's the only bingo Bally produced. So, let's talk about the artwork. Now, the back glass is quite beautiful. It's got mirroring around every card, and there's mirrored filigree on the walls represented on the back glass. So what the scene is of a line dance that's happening, and you have 8 different ladies, all which look pretty much exactly the same, all doing a high kick at the same time, pointing over to the right. And the perspective is that you're sitting on the left of the stage and looking towards the right. Now you can see the walls that I mentioned previously with their filigree on the left and right side. And then you can see on the right-hand side there's a stage curtain, which is pushed aside. And then behind that you have the backdrop curtain, which is kind of a pink color. And the words Bright Lights are written in red, all caps, with dots inside to represent light bulbs. Now I can speculate that the reason this was called Bright Lights is that each time that you make one of the numbers, it's going to light up the numbers on the bingo cards quite brightly. So there's nothing really like this previously. So what do you call that? You call them Bright Lights. The bingo cards themselves are fairly unique on Bright Lights. It's not the only game that did this, but the numbers are different colors. So rather than being just white with black lettering, they share the background color of the bingo card. And then there is a black background that kind of goes around each of the numbers and hooks them all together with white lines to show the scoring opportunities, diagonals, vertical, and horizontal. Beautiful, beautiful back glass. So let's talk about the cab. Now this is a wood rail bingo, and it uses wooden legs. The stencil is alternating white and gold stripes vertical with a scooped red kind of surround that goes around the ball lifter and shooter rod, and then over to the red button to start your game and the coin slot. The wooden door is there, and it uses the same striped pattern, and it appears that it comes out completely. Now at this time, it was rare for a wood rail cabinet to have a hinged door, and so it's likely that this door was completely removable. Another interesting thing, which I believe Coney Island has as well, is that the coin entrance, instead of being the gravity-fed coin entrance through the lockdown bar that Bally switched to fairly quickly, he uses a gravity feed coin slot similar to United's or similar to any of the other big pin game manufacturers at the time, where there's a little tongue that sticks out that you put your coin into, and it kind of slides in. It's not a coin slide. It doesn't, the whole tongue doesn't slide in. It's just that your coin kind of rolls in on this track that's sticking out from the cab like a tongue. Now, there's only one button on this game, like I said. Just like every other 6 card, you have your red button that starts the game and adds additional cards. And each time you press this button, it takes a replay off the meter. Now, let's talk about the playfield. The playfield is relatively plain for Bally Bingo. Remember, this is the first game, so they're still kind of getting their feet under them. You have a lady dancing, or kind of flying, across the top of the playfield. And behind her, you see the bright lights in an arch, kind of across the top of the playfield, arching from number 2 to number 6. Underneath that, you have all the numbers, and they are on a field of red. And then inside that is an outline of white and a field of blue. Now, each number is on a field of yellow themselves, written in red, and below that and descending to the next number are 1/2 purple or pink and 1/2 green, and it just alternates those stripes all the way across. Then it does the same thing for the next row down, and so on, all the way to the ball return. The ball return is outlined in a black circle with red lettering that says ball return. Now, this early, Bally was still, of course, using a Bally product lifter cover, and I just think those are some of the most beautiful plastic pieces on any playfield, and it sure beats the heck out of the plain red plastic lifter cover that they used later on. Now, the lamp shields that they have are white, and as I learned from Jeffrey Lawton at this latest York show, that was intentional. They didn't switch to the larger red top lamp covers until later on. Now, these white ones are shorter, and they're split open in the front. So if you get an older game and it's got the white lamp covers and they're split open, that is correct. They're supposed to be like that. I never would have guessed. Because they just appear wrong, if you are only familiar with the later bingos. And at this point, Bally had already figured out that you need to have the shooter gauge in the shooter lane, so that helps you determine your plunge. Well, that's all for tonight. Thank you very much for joining me. My name again is Nick Baldridge. You can reach me at foramusementonlypodcast@gmail.com, or you can call me on the Bingos line. That's 724-BINGOS1, 724-246-4671. You can listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Casts via RSS, on Facebook, on Twitter at Bingo Podcast. You can follow me on Instagram, also at Bingo Podcast. Or you can listen to us on our website, which is foramusementonly.libsyn.com. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.